Hey, welcome to Mooney Reads. My name is Beck, and today I'm going to be talking about what I plan on reading in the month of September. In September, there are 3 different readathons that I want to participate in, but one of them doesn't start until the 15th, so I'll put out a separate TBR for that. But for the first 2, I'm really trying not to overdo it. I love making TBRs, but I simply don't stick to them. It's basically a useless exercise. But I have 1 book per readathon, basically, for these 2. I have one book solely fitting in each of them, and then 1 book that fits in both of them. And then I have several other books that don't have anything to do with the readathons at all. So I'm going to start with those, and then we can get into the readathons. So I'm going to be finishing up a couple of books. I have the Jose Maria Sison ML primer that I worked on last month too, that I'm going to finish up. I would also like to finish Darius the Great is Not Okay. This is a story about a boy coming from a mixed-race family. He's not as connected to his Farsi culture as he would like to be, but during the course of the story, he ends up going to visit his family in Iran. I have basically gotten to the point where he knows he's going to Iran. So I'll actually get into the thick of the story this month. Now that damn audio is just gonna be playing through my head. Thank you, TikTok and Backyardigans. Okay, next I have some nonfiction that I was going to read last month. Discourse on Colonialism by Aimé Césaire. This, like the title would imply, talks about colonization, particularly in Africa. Next, I have some graphic novels and manga that I'd like to read. I have Boys Run the Riot, which hopefully you've heard about. This is a manga that focuses on a, I think, closeted trans boy who is interested in streetwear and ends up bonding with someone who's initially like a bully or a rival through these street clothes. It's supposed to be really good and full of feelings, so I'm excited about it. Another graphic novel that I want to read, March, Book 3, which I wanted to read last month during the History Readathon, or the History Challenge, rather. I just didn't get to it. This is part 3 of John Lewis's memoirs / account or history of the Civil Rights Movement. I read the first 2 parts last year. So, we've got to part 3 finally. And the final graphic novel that I have is This One Summer by Jillian Tamaki and Mariko Tamaki. And you'll notice both of these are library books. I actually have other books that I've checked out from my library that aren't going to be on my official TBR. So once I get through all of this, I'll take you through the other library books, since I didn't do an official haul on YouTube, at any rate. I did on TikTok, so if you're not following me there, could have had a library haul. Anyways, I should have said that at the beginning of the video, but it's fine. The next books that I'm going to talk about are actually a part of the readathons. Like I said in the beginning of the video, each of these readathons, I have 1 book that's just for that readathon, and then 1 that the readathon share, I guess, that kind of goes with both of them. So the first book that I have is All Systems Red by Martha Wells. It's the first book of the Murderbot Diary series. I don't actually really know what the synopsis is, and I don't really care to know, because I would rather just read it. But I know that there are robots, and there's a lot that has to do with, like, I think mental health. There's a lot of thematically interesting things, and that's basically why I picked it up. One of the people that I worked with has been talking about it with me for a while. So, this fits in the bingo board for a book with a robot or AI, a book that has a non-human main character, I think, and a book that is short, and it was also something recommended to me. The next book that I have goes with Sci-fi September and the Sapphic September. And that book is Failure to Communicate by Sønderby. And the synopsis of this book, I know that it is set on a different planet. The main character is autistic, and there are a lack of autistic people throughout the universe. It's sapphic, obviously. It has a polyamorous couple. I think that's 2 women and a man. Could be wrong. I haven't read it, so I'm not too sure. But it should be a good time. And this fits for Sci-fi September because it is a book with an alien presence, a queer book, and it was recommended to me. I actually got this through a giveaway. I was going to say the person's name, but I realized that they might have rebranded recently. So I'll put their Instagram and Twitter information in the bottom, or in the description. They have a lot of really great polyamorous recs, among other things. And moving right along to Sapphic September, which obviously this goes with too. This fits the prompt for Sapphics in Space, a book with less than 500 Goodreads reviews, a book with disability rep, a book set on another time period. I can read my own handwriting. And it is also, I'm doing the Choose the category, which is to read a book that works for another readathon. So, there's that. The other book that I'm doing for this readathon is The Gentrification of the Mind by Sarah Schulman, which I had on my History Challenge TBR last month. But I really want to read it. I'm really excited for it. And I also really want to be able to get her newest book without feeling bad that I have multiple books by her unread on my shelf. So, we're going to get to it. And it fits the prompts for a book that's not a romance, a book that's been on my TBR for over a year, and I think that's it. I'm not going to get a straight up bingo with this, but it still fits a lot, so I'm okay with that. So those are all of the readathons that I'll be participating in. I also have a buddy read. It's an ongoing buddy read that I've talked about before for Dan Howell's You'll Get Through This Night. My friend is back from her trip, so we'll actually be getting to it. We're actually going to be meeting up to talk about the first part on Tuesday, so this is probably what I'm going to be working on for the next little while. So, that is all so far as official TBR stuff is concerned. This is what my stack looks like. Hopefully I can get to at least most of them. Now I can get into the mini library haul. So the books that I already talked about, we have March Book 3. Like I said, it's the 3rd installment of John Lewis's graphic memoir. And then I have This One Summer by Jillian Tamaki and Mariko Tamaki. I'm not super sure about everything that happens in here. I know that it's a contemporary, high emotion. I'm hoping that it's good. I really loved Laura Dean Keeps Breaking Up With Me, which is by Mariko Tamaki. I have not had as much luck with Jillian Tamaki. I really kind of hated Super Meat Magic Academy. And I've read Skim, which was pretty good except for the weird student-teacher relationship, which that's a big no from me, so I had a hard time really enjoying it. It was also small, and I would have liked a lot of what was in there explored more. This one is larger than that one, though, so maybe we can get into some more good things. This next book I've actually finished. It will be featured in my wrap-up, which should be posted after this video. But that is Have Black Lives Ever Mattered by Mumia Abu-Jamal, which is a collection of essays about police brutality that he wrote from 1998 until 2016, with a couple of pieces written in 2017, the introduction and conclusion, which is when this was actually put out. Then I also got 2 more fiction books and 2 more nonfiction books. Now, will I finish these before I need to turn them in? Probably not. But I have them. I've already had them for 2 weeks and have renewed them. So hopefully I'll read them in the next couple weeks. One of them, I'm like crossing my fingers and hoping I will be able to renew again afterwards, because I want to read it for the Latinx readathon, which isn't until the 15th. And that book is 1,500 Miles from the Sun by Johnny Garzavia. This is a YA romance. The main character outs himself on Twitter and ends up being talked to by one of his followers, and that kind of is where the love story blossoms. That's how I understand it anyways. I've heard nothing but great things. Another book that I have that I plan on reading is How Fascism Works, The Politics of Us and Them by Stanley. I think the title probably speaks for itself. This is about fascism. It's looking historically, but it's also looking out at how we can apply it today. Switching gears back to fiction, I have Rainbow Milk by Paul Mendez. I have wanted to read this book for so long. It came out in the UK, so it wasn't really available in the United States. It, within the past few months, has actually come out. I feel like I started to see it, actually in the bookstore that I work at in June. And I saw it in the library and could not pick it up. I don't know if I'm going to have time to read it, but I really, really want to read it. And the final library book that I have is Dying of Whiteness, How the Politics of Racial Resentment is Killing America's Heartland. I am hoping this has some interesting insight. I did see that Alok Vadmenon read this and did one of their book reports on it. If you're not following them on Instagram, what are you doing? They obviously have some amazing fashion content, but they also have that bookish content that I think is really wonderful. They write like a whole little book report in a post. So this has been on my radar for a minute. I am going in a little bit cautiously because I've read books like this, and they are usually in need of a little bit of perspective. So I hope it's good. I'm going in hoping that it's good, but I am going to be a little bit cautious. That's kind of how I read... Where is it? Strangers in Their Own Land by Arlene Hochschild, which I read for a class, Race in the United States. And, there was good insight in it. It talks about the American South, I think, either Louisiana or Mississippi, and the rise of the Tea Party. And it does have good things to say, but it is also missing some pieces looking at white supremacy and systemic racism, which is why we read it in the class in context with a lot of other books. So I'm going in with similar grains of salt with this book. Assuming I can even read it within the next month. It's not like I can't just check it out again some other time. But that's my library haul, along with the books that I'm going to read this coming month, hopefully. So if you've read any of these, definitely let me know about it in the comments below. If you have any thoughts on what of these library books I should prioritize, comment that as well. And thank you all so much for watching. Bye.